Cindy, and today I want to talk about Gaudy Night by Dorothy L. Sayers. So, this is a Lord Peter Wimsey mystery with Harriet Vane. So, Lord Peter Wimsey, he think Jeeves and Wooster. Think Jeeves and Wooster. Except Wooster is actually frightfully intelligent. He just doesn't act like it all the time. And he does have a very efficient manservant, Bunter. Now, this takes place in 1935, and it takes place primarily in Oxford. So, this is primarily a Harriet Vane novel. We meet her in Strong Poison, where she is accused of murder. And so I guess spoilers for the ending of Strong Poison. Lord Peter Wimsey manages to find enough evidence that she is not convicted. Well, it's been 5 years since then, the time of Gaudy Night. And Harriet is still ambivalent about Lord Peter. He keeps asking her to marry him, which she feels more annoyed than flattered mostly, except she does like Peter. It's complicated. And this book spends a lot of time on that complication in Oxford. Harriet had avoided going back to Oxford, mostly since the events of Strong Poison, maybe even before she didn't have much of a chance to get back in any case. But an old school friend begs her to come to the Gaudy Night, so she does. Harriet, by the way, is indeed a graduate of Oxford. I'm not sure she got her diploma immediately, but when women were finally allowed to get diplomas, she did get one at the very least. So she is an MA, full rights of an alumni, and she goes to the Gaudy. It's not as bad as she thinks, but then strange things start happening at her college, a women's college. Nasty notes being left, and one can't go by the handwriting since it's all cut out from newspapers and such. Nasty drawings, destruction of property. At first, everyone thinks it's just a prank that's going a little bit too far, but the persistence shows it is far from that. So, Harriet, since she is a detective novelist and she survived her own murder trial, she agrees to do a bit of poking around to try and figure out who is doing all these disturbing things. And I probably can't say too much more about the actual plot, except to say that, of course, Lord Peter does show up and get involved himself. But this is very much, it's more like the murder is an excuse for Harriet and Lord Peter to be together on neutral ground and figure out what they may or may not really feel for each other and what they may or may not want to do about it. So in that way, one could almost call this literary, except that sounds too pretentious for something that, at least on the surface, looks so easy to do. But Dorothy Sayers is brilliant. It's not really that easy. Tons of literary references if you like looking for those type of things. Each chapter, in fact, let's see if I can find one, starts with an epigram from the Renaissance. And yes, the epigram does have reference to what is going on in that chapter. So, quite enjoyed it, loved the setting, loved how much Lord Peter has grown, loved seeing Harriet again and see how much she's changed too. Both overall for the better, I would say. One conclusion they do come to is that they are not the same people that they were when they attended Oxford. They've grown up, and overall, that is a good thing. And I would have to agree with them on that, though I hope Lord Peter in particular never deserts his whimsies, so to speak, and I don't think he will. Anyway, that was Gaudy Night. Highly recommend it. Now, where to start with the Lord Peter mysteries? That is a good question. First one in particular isn't the best. Some of the ones after that are amusing at least, and better. She doesn't really start hitting her stride though until Strong Poison. And I would definitely suggest reading Strong Poison and Have His Carcass, which is another mystery with both Lord Peter and Harriet Vane in it, before reading Gaudy Night. This was actually the first Dorothy Sayers I ever read, I think. And I can't say that it was as an enjoyable experience the first time. Partly that was on me. Like I said, this was the first one, and so I didn't have any of the background for anything else. And I don't think I understood what Dorothy Sayers was doing here at the time. Lots of discussions about education, women's education, men's education. What is a woman's place? How does marriage affect women? How does marriage affect a man? What about academic integrity? What about charity? Where do all of these things fit in? And Dorothy Sayers, she does not give us any easy answers. You've got the poor student from more humble circumstances who is on scholarship and doing everything she can. You've got the more well-to-do student. Her parents pressured her into being there since they're both in education, but this is not what she wants. You have Dorothy Sayers's one former classmate, the one who got her to the Gaudy in the first place, who is ill, and maybe her life led to that illness, maybe not, but she married a farmer, So did a brilliant mind go to waste there? And what about one of the Dons there, who is very sharp and hard and brilliant mind, but would she have been better letting more than just the life of her mind into her life? All sorts of things to consider. Like I said, Dorothy Sayers doesn't leave us with any answers, and we are still wrestling with some of those same questions today. So, if you are interested in education, about women's place in society and what women can do, or if you just want a great love story, I can recommend Gaudy Night. And it's not that the mystery is a bad one. In fact, it's a bit unusual that for once it is not a murder. And it certainly causes plenty of excitement during the story. But it's almost a secondary part of its own story. Like I said, the focus is on Lord Peter Wimsey and on Harriet Vane. So, highly recommend it. If what I've told you sounds interesting, maybe you should check it out. If you have read it, I would love to hear down in the comments what you liked or disliked, how you felt about it. Thank you so much for stopping by. I always appreciate it. So until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.